Welcome to my living room. If you're new around here, let me introduce myself. I am Lana Labonte. I am here to uplift, support, inspire, and hopefully that empowers you to be the best version of you you're meant to be. You do you, you be you. Buzz around in your purest essence, your buzzworthy self. Be all that's a buzz, the hum of the universe. We are all energy, frequency, vibration. We are the secrets to the universe. We are the mystery that we are seeking. And it's not out, it's in. So going within is the key, because when you go without, you're left grasping for the seams, for threads, trying to reinitiate, recognize, remember. We are in Mercury retrograde. What a perfect time to even bring that up. And so the first thing I always like to make sure is that we have sound. Can you hear me? Echo, echo, echo. How is it in your world? How is it in your life? Are you inspired? Can you hear me? Yes, you can. Can you hear me? All right. So now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about seasonal depression. Let's talk about what everybody's feeling, because it may not feel like you know what it is, but you know you feel something, because you're human. You're a sentient being. You have 5 senses. Of course you feel something. You're meant to, because you are sensitive. Don't ever let anybody ever tell you you're too sensitive, because if you weren't sensitive to begin with, that would probably mean and indicate that you weren't alive, because only the dead are insensitive, unable to feel. Anyway, so you are sentient, meaning sensitive, 5 senses, and then you got a spidey sense. The key is, how tuned in to it are you? The secrets of the universe mean you are energy, you are frequency, you are vibration. What does that mean? You need to be in tune. It means you are an instrument, and you are the instrument playing ding, 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 your chords, playing your role, that whatever frequency you are vibrating at, that is what you are drawing, literally drawing to you. Hello, awakening soldier. I love that, sold, but without the dire part. And so that, again, duplicity in the languaging, right? So if we are energy, frequency, vibration, and we are aware of that, that means that we are always emitting a frequency, a vibration, energy, sound, heard or unheard. But if you listen close enough, you will hear your own tune. This is why the play on the words is so, this is the divine comedy of life. We are all of it. And so the tuning in literally needs to be tuned in, tuned up, tuned on, turned on. You need to be in tune with your own frequency, because if you don't know what you're emitting, you don't know how you're attracting, because the energy you emit, that frequency, that vibration, is what you are attracting. Literally, you are the great attractor. And it's so funny, because if you listen to a lot of astrologers right now, they'll tell you that we are, the great attractor is the galactic center. And hello, what do you think we are? You could say that the universe revolves around us, because we are the universe, you inverse, and it's about you being so in tune with yourself, knowing thyself so well. You know your you inverse. You know the frequency that you emit is your verse, that you are contributing to in the collective consciousness. And I love to say this is a collective collaboration. With or without your participation, conscious or unconscious, we're all a part of it. We're all a part of the oneness. And so even if you are feeling but can't put your fingers or can't wrap your head around it, because the head, the head wants to create a story. But the body, there's the glory, there's the truth, because the body is the truth teller. That pain, somewhere I read today, just earlier, pain is simply a lie. Pain is a reflection of the body. If you've followed me long enough, my explanation around pain is telling your body, telling on the mind, it is saying that's a lie. And so I really appreciated seeing someone else write it up the way that I've been speaking about it, is that basically any discomfort you feel in your body is simply calling out a lie in the mind. So there we go with playing with the words again. Do you have an ally in your mind, or do you have a lie in your mind? Play with that one for a second. Allies can be helpful, or you may not realize what you think is an ally is just a lie. But that goes back to acknowledging your BS, your belief systems. We constantly have to reflect, especially during this time of retrograde, reflect, remember, recognize, cognition, brain, recognize, remember, reconnect. We are all members of the same source. In order for you to know if your beliefs are serving you or you are serving them. The tongue is the sword, just like the wand. It is constantly dictating, oh, there we go with that erect phallus, constantly wanting to be worshipped, because when you erect a statue, it's basically a penis on display. Look at me, worship me. Tongue's no different, it's phallic. Same with finger. They're all penetrating. They're all trying to wield and get you to perform behind it. The hidden hand. The hidden hand never gets dirty because it has you doing its dirty work. You don't even realize how you're casting the spells through the words and the stories that you tell. When you take acknowledgement, you take personal accountability and responsibility for every word you think, you speak, every action you take and make. When you take ownership, it won't own you. And knowing your intention behind everything you do is so imperative in this life. Yeah, we may be in that, the depression season, but that's deep rest, baby. That's deep reflection time. You're not meant to live there. And if you do feel it is too heavy for you to bear, then you get up, you move your body, you shake it out. Come on, just do this with me. Just kind of stand up, shake it out. Shake it out. Take a deep breath in. Who cares how freaky you get, as long as you're moving the energy and it's not keeping you stuck and stagnant. Because movement is medicine. Your body needs to stay in motion. If all you do is sit on the couch with a remote, you're being controlled by your own remote, and you are remote. You become lacking the emotion. When you are stuck with the remote, you are lounging on the couch. You're actually being controlled. What you think is you're controlling is actually controlling you. So the best way to get it out, to move it out, is to just move. Turn on some music that motivates you, that inspires you. Just kind of shake it. See how your body wants to move and feel and flow. Make the noises. Hum. Harmonize and tune in and tune up your instrument, because movement is medicine. That means moving the energy through the breath. That means moving the energy through your body, flow, freedom of movement, your God-given right. And how few people are exercising that right. Most of them don't even realize they're going through the rites of passage, the ritualistic abuses that have been influenced through devices, through televisions. Here, sit here. We will numb you out, make you immobile, unable to take action, inactive. Like if you're not moving your body and then you're complaining about pain, I can tell you from personal experience, the more I move, the less pain. But when I don't move, I feel more pain. Why? Because my body's telling on my mind, it's saying, there's a lie up there. You're avoiding the movement, which is what we need to be doing all the time. If your body's not moving, how are you growing? How are you noticing? How are you feeling? Like truly, movement is always going to tell on you. How are you moving? Are you moving fluidly? Are you moving with resistance? Like every part of your body is telling a story. It's telling your past. It's telling your present. And it may be dictating your future if you allow yourself to get caught up here versus tapping in here. The heart. Are you opening up, allowing the freedom of the breath to fully inhabit this amazing body? Like breathing fully. Or are you just kind of like short? Are you stuck up in here? Are you able to get to your heart? Some people can't even breathe deep enough to express and feel it in their lungs, which is where their hearts reside. But you should be feeling it all the way down to your womb, like really down into your lower pelvic area. And this is where we hold and store a lot of our pain. And if you're not able to move this, you got a stiff back. You don't have like fluidity in your hips and you're like able to like move around. There's something about your life. You don't feel safe. You don't feel secure. You don't feel grounded. You may not even feel like you have ground to stand on. And so about grounding, I mean, there's so many different ways you can do it. Take your shoes off, walk outside, touch your feet to the earth. Go to the beach, stick your feet in the sand, in the water. Negative ions. The closer you are to the water, and even up in the mountains and the streams, the more you're going to take on that negative ion. It's a cleanse. It's a great way to discharge all the excess energy that you need to shake out. All right, so if you're not moving your body, you're losing out on the natural cycle and cleansing ability that it has without your thinking about it. Just taking a walk. Notice how do you get winded when you walk, or do you feel energized? Or like, what is really going on? Notice your body language. Are you like closing down the heart? You need to roll the shoulders back, open the heart. You get more oxygen into your body. And that right there, the sigh, is also tonifying for the vagus nerve again. So like one of the ways I love to teach people how to breathe fully, and this is because this is more of a womb breath. The way that you open up the mouth and like take in the oxygen, if you tilt your head up so that you create this straight passage down. So you have a straight channel from the back of the throat, opening the mouth wide, and then inhaling. And then, and when you really release that, you start releasing all sorts of shit that you don't even know you've been holding on to down here. because this is so deeply connected to our wombs, and it doesn't matter if you're male or female, masculine or feminine. Okay? So like, do this with me a couple times. Let's do this together. Why? Why not? You got nothing to lose. So why not try it? Because there's so many people who'll say, oh, that's stupid. Oh, that's, who freaking cares? You're just a talker. Until you're willing to put your energy into trying something, you'll never know. You'll never know how good it might go. All right, so everybody, standing up, feet are at least hip width, even wider, because we're going to open up the womb. We're going to tilt our head back. We're going to open, shoulders gloated, shoulders, roll them up and glide down the back. Open up the heart and the lungs. Tilt the head back and just inhale. Open the mouth wide and then tilt the head back and go. We got the gremlins of retrograde going on, but stay with me on this. So when you inhale through the mouth, let's do it again. Fully exhale, but feel the reverberation. Really pull in and up from the belly, the pubis, all the way to the back. Inhale again. Let's do it again. One more time. And then just shake. Just shake. See what just comes out. You may feel sweaty. You may feel like that really churned up some stuff. Like just shake and jump and just whatever comes, whatever you feel motivated, whatever feels it needs to just shake it out. Whatever it is, just allow yourself to be guided. Use your body as the guidance system that it is. Tune in, listen to the rhythm, harmonize, because that's the key, is you are always emitting a frequency. Your body it needs to be a very finely tuned instrument, but so many are disconnected from their bodies, they don't recognize how powerful they really truly are. That if you want to shift your life, your body can do it for you. You don't even have to technically think about it. You just need to tune in and tap into it, because that is the power. I don't want you to know that. I know that. Especially when my stream gets interrupted as I'm gutturally, like really like, what that does, it stimulates the vagus nerve, because you're really pulling on that 10th cranial nerve. Deep belly breathing, like womb, like the mouth is actually replicating the womb. And what it is doing is it is activating, it is re-energizing you, your core. Le core. You got a heart and you got a core. They're deeply connected. And if this chakra system, this whole energy system of a body that we have isn't finely tuned up, right? That's how the Kundalini energy rises. That's creativity. That's where you have your creative force. If you're not tuned in and turned on and all those things, then life is happening to you, not for you, with you. Like you're an unconscious participant. And I'm telling you, the more of us that tune into the human generator at our core, right? The more of us that tune into this, that truly harness the power of the body wisdom. Like this is body breathing, is like really just breathing into the point where you cannot deny every cell. Your cells, you know, we talk about like nutrition, eating, what you're supposed to eat and all these things, but those are all frequencies as well. But if we can harness the power of our breath, That's going to feed and fuel you more than anything you put in your mouth. But it starts with what you think. Because again, everything starts with the mind, and the body will always tell on the mind. This is an interplay. They're not separate. You're not here to diminish, or to dismiss the what do you call it? The ego. The ego is there for you. The ego is meant to serve you, not you serve it. There are so many gifts that you have that you don't even realize exist within you. Yes, mind over matter. I love this one. I always say, if you don't mind, it won't matter. Because when you mind, that means you're creating the currency of your thoughts in the direction of it to make it into matter, into form. So yeah, powerful words. We're the most powerful magicians here, casting our spells upon ourselves and one another. Like even the thought of how sometimes people are afraid of seeing certain people because of the way they think that person is. You're creating a prison, you're creating a story and a judgment. But the judgment starts with you because you're comparing yourself to them. Every judgment is a comparison. And that actually takes the edge off of, oh shit, you know, I do judge. I do own I judge. I own it because I recognize that my judgment is a comparison of myself against whatever it is I am judging. And it's really not that you're judging the other person, you're really judging yourself. Because how could you compare without looking at yourself first? So it's like, oh, is that how that works? So every time I'm pointing a finger out, I got 3 fingers pointing back. Really, it is the game of psychology. And the funny thing is we're creating it every step of the way. So I was thinking about this as I was preparing, because I'm like sitting here going, something's coming in, something's stirring. And so much of like the things out there in the world that are happening. I mean, things are becoming evident. People are talking about things that over your head, because I've never, that I can recall, ever seen the sun over my head. Just an observation. Or like I read earlier, somebody had posted on a social, something around, why is it, if the sun is supposedly out in space, why is space dark? I mean, if the sun's able to illuminate this much, how come it's supposedly dark up there? And these are things that like kids ask these questions, right? Because the curiosity in the mind of a child hasn't been tarnished. It hasn't been indoctrinated. It hasn't been squashed just yet. At least that's how I interpret it. Everything we're taught kind of takes away from everything that keeps the curious mind alive. And you should always have and experience life with the eyes of a child. Like, consider that you don't always know, that your belief system was just a series of thoughts you thought so often, and like a record player, it deepened the groove, and all of a sudden you just accepted it as your truth or your BS. But until you question it, confront it, hey, is this even true? Is this mine? Or did I learn this somewhere else? I hear people speaking about things and I'm like, huh, did that come from you or did that come from someone else? I mean, how much of our thought is original? I like to reflect and question it all because that's how I was raised. I have a curious mind anyway. My mind will just do that thing because that's fun too. But we also have to be discerning as to whether or not that's serving, and acknowledging if we're going down a rabbit hole that we will never come out of. But see, this is what's interesting, is there are so many ideas out there that keep us from just experiencing the beauty of this life. And it's like the Wizard of Oz, you know, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. But boy, that curtain's being pulled across to where you can't deny it. It's right there in your face. There is some truth that we all need to face. The most important truth is right here, right? And yes, the chemtrail thing's coming up very strongly lately. So for example, I live in Florida and all NATO nations do it. I know this from my previous military and living abroad experience. They're all doing it. And it's a huge question as to why. What's the real reason? Do we really, I mean, I don't remember being asked, is this okay? I don't think this is okay personally. And yet I'm driving down the road on Friday, a week ago. Today's Thursday. I'm losing track of the days. And I'm looking up and I'm like, there's a plane really low and it's spraying something out the back. And as I look up to be able to read it, it's a U.S. Coast Guard. And I'm like, huh, that's interesting. It didn't come by once. I saw it at least twice. And I was like, that's awful strange. Why did we get such a beautiful, sunshiny, clear blue sky? And then the next thing I know, there's fog rolling in. Like, what is going on? Or I can look at the weather forecast and it was supposed to be 79 degrees next week on Friday, and now it's showing 66. But this also takes, it takes a lot of like awareness in yourself. Most people are living in survival right now, so they're not going to notice all these little things. Or if they are, it's just one more thing to get under their skin, and they don't know where they end and where they begin, because when you're in survival mode, that's when you're easiest to control anyway. And they've designed the system so well. I mean, ultimately, the criminal justice system was designed by criminals for criminals. That's why I say the system is not there for you, it's against you. And that was by design. So the idea that you would even have to defend yourself is actually a moot point. It should be the other way around. But they've flipped a lot of stuff, inverted and perverted our reality in favor of themselves. Hence, the criminals get away with it. And then you have people who don't understand how this happened, because it's admiralty law, it's law of the water, and it's corporate law. So ultimately, the laws were designed to support the criminal justice system, which is the corporate law. And unless you know and you become a lawyer, then you know what? You're not going to know. And then you can fight it, you can argue it, you can complain about it, or you can do something about it. That's a whole life change. But see, that's where I come back to. You have to be personally accountable and responsible for yourself. Until you get to know yourself so well and you understand literally your frequency, your vibration, your energy, that your body is powerful in taking back that power. And acknowledging, yes, we've all been hurt. We've all had pains. We all have traumas. You got to work on that. Until you work through that, it's what's driving you. It's what motivates you. It's what inspires you, for the good, the bad, or the ugly. It's up to you to decode, deconstruct, reverse engineer your own life as to, am I where I want to be? Because if you're not, then it's up to you to take personal accountability and responsibility for where you're at. Because every choice we make came from the past that created the present. And every choice we're making in the moment is also going to dictate the future. So until we acknowledge from whence we came, then we will be slaves to that game. So like, and I love it because it really is languaging. If you continue to tell the same story, the disempowering, the victimhood, the lack story, the mentality of, why is this always happening to me? Like, I was there, so I get it. And we've all had something that has overpowered, disempowered, and actually made us feel less than we deserve. But that's not where we live, and that's not who we are. It's not really our true reality. It's a glimpse into recognizing that you're more powerful than the story, and that you can change the story at any time. So it's a question of, what story do you want to be telling? And to work on creating that. and actually articulating it, like telling it the way you want it. Versus, I don't want to tell a story about the horrible things that happened to me, because that's not who I am. They shaped, they influenced, they guided me along my life, but they're not who I am. They're just simply experiences. And when you recognize that everything in this life is about experience, that it's when we get stuck in those experiences because we wanted them differently than they actually occurred. That's what creates our traumas. That's what keeps us under the spell, is the idea, and it's our own spell casting. It's the belief that it should have been this way, but because it wasn't, I'm still fighting with it. And the more you go back and forth jockeying with yourself, you're just holding yourself back. You're just reinforcing the spell to attract more of that. Because again, go back to energy. You are constantly emitting energy. And if you're telling a story and casting a spell upon yourself, then you are emitting that same energy, reinforcing it and drawing more of that to you. Hence why it's so important to work on gratitude, to be grateful for what you have, not whining about what you think you should have or claim you don't have, because you may actually have it. You just may be so short-sighted that you're unable to see it. And ultimately, the only way through anything is to go through it. You cannot think your way out of the muck. You can't avoid it, circumvent it. You have to go through it. Like, the whole reason we still have trauma is because we never fully felt it. We numbed out. We sought ways to get around it, to get away from it. And it was never fully brought to that, oh, that's all that was. Like that pivotal point of, okay, so yes, I had a trauma. How am I going to actually recognize that it wasn't finished? Because you keep getting triggered by its first clue. It keeps coming up and it's in your face. Like, oh, there it is. Oh, there it is. Oh, different characters, same storyline. It's up to us to actually confront it and to supersede it, like to really, truly decide. You don't own me. You don't rule me. I'm changing the story right here, right now. And I'm going to tell you that sometimes it's just like a solid, this changes now. And when you viscerally feel that in every cell of your being, like when I was showing you the breath, when you're like, I want this out. I want this to go right here, right now. Sometimes that's what it takes. It takes ensuring that you're in a safe space, that you turn off all your devices, and that you just scream it out, you breathe it in, and you let it out. You got to get it out, because you got to have momentum behind that in order to get rid of that stuff. Because I'm telling you, if you don't do it, others will pull it out of you, but not in the way that you want them to. If you're not willing to let that shit go, people are going to trigger you with your own shit. And they're going to use that shit against you. And it'll be, like I say, monkeys flinging shit at one another. Hello. Hi, you're supposed to, pa-tunk, pa-tunk. Like, we are just crazy monkeys running around trying to get our childhood needs resolved through another. You're supposed to do this for me. You're supposed to fulfill this need. You're supposed to do this so that I feel comfortable. That's the victim. None of us wants to be the victim. Nobody wants to operate from lack. We all want to reclaim and get back what it is we feel was taken from us. But nothing was ever taken from us. In a lot of cases, we voluntarily gave up things that actually we never gave up. But in our mind, the story is the part that's disempowering us. Can you actually acknowledge where, wow, that person's not wrong. It was actually me thinking they were more important than me, that I prioritized them, that I gave them more credit than they deserved, that I handed over my power to them. Taking personal responsibility and accountability for the people that you've allowed into your life and to dictate or influence you in whatever way is just a small nugget of reclaiming your power. And sometimes silence is golden, by the way. And I'm going to tell you that even though some people are experiencing seasonal depression right now, like that is deep rest. That is a powerful time to get out the books, get out the journals, write shit down. What are you feeling? Yeah, it sucks. But again, the only solution is to be like to bask in your shit. I know that sounds crazy, but the deeper you dive, the higher you'll rise, the more wisdom that will come from it. I'm speaking from personal experience. You know how many times I'm over here going, fuck, I don't wanna. My temper tantrum child over here is like, fuck this shit. I don't want to do this shit. And every single time I'm happy that I did it. I go through it still. You know, this past week, I'm like, I told my dad and I had a beautiful, Christmas together. And Christmas to me, I'm changing that word from Christmas to Christmas. Why? Because mas means more in Spanish. And we need more of the Christ consciousness within you to return, to rise. Not subscribing to the rituals or the story or the books. You know why? Because all those were written by man. And man wants to create the image he wants you to worship. And the other day, this is literally what dropped in. I woke up out of my dreams like this. I'm like, boy, people don't realize the Catholic Church, that's what I know, how clever they were. Even before the so-called bread and circus Roman times, everybody talks about the empire, give them bread and circus. The fucking Catholic Church is over here giving you bread and wine. Duh. Does this make sense to anybody? I mean, I went through communion, but do you notice how they ritualized, they normalized ritualizing violence? That the same people who condemned, or supposedly the story goes, are the same ones who are telling you, body of Christ, blood of Christ, drink, eat. Is that not disgusting to anybody else out there? Because I'm over here going, wow, we accepted that as like normal. We accepted that as if that was okay. We're over here like making shit up like this is a ritual story of violence. And it's okay to eat the Eucharist because it's the Christ's body, and the blood because it's his blood. Ugh. Am I the only one who thinks like this? That I'm actually deprogramming this bullshit? That I don't condone it? In fact, if anything, I'm actually sitting here going, they created a story around bread. Like, what is one of the biggest addictive foods out there? Bread. Most people can't give up bread. Do you know, back in 2010, I had a huge reaction. My father had a pizzeria sub shop. Come on, people. My trauma revolved around the pizzeria sub shop. And not to mention all the Monsanto, glyphosate all over the fields to grow the wheat. Poisoning us through the bread that we partake in. But see, this is part of our heritage, our culture. We're supposed to eat bread. Since when? Have you seen a wheat shaft? Can you think you can eat that without processing it and actually being able to get nutrients from it? To me, I'm like, when I had my reaction, I started deconstructing that. I'm like, wow, do people get it? That you're being poisoned by the field as it is. So you don't even know if it's the glyphosate or the bread. But even before we have to go back to, like in Italy, I had a conversation with an Italian. I said, let's talk, even before the Industrial Revolution, where now they're cutting it, they're using metal to process it, which means you're also getting heavy metals on top of the glyphosate actually added into the processing. So you're getting heavy metals either from the machinery or the poisons in the earth. But even before that, they made it disease resistant. They called it semolina duro so that it could withstand the storms, any type of like, what is it called? When the bugs, pests, why do you think they came up with pesticides? So they made it more durable for weather and pests so that it would be able to endure the times. Nobody ever stopped to question if the body could process it naturally. So you made it stronger in this department, but you were unable to actually test and recognize that it might have been actually more deteriorating upon our bodies. Hello. So here we are with all this poison, genetically modified, who knows that we were even supposed to ever consume it. You know, there's a lot of stuff around the churches where it's like all this alien stuff. Well, maybe they're the aliens and they're the ones poisoning us from the start. They introduced the refined sugars, and actually bread and gluten turn into that complex carb that's not good for your body. And then let's take the wine. Let's take the wine, because what is wine? It's another sugar. So they make you docile and submissive, because what does grain do to your belly and your mind? It makes you grain brain, wheat belly, big fat belly, grain brain, meaning you can't think straight. Like, it takes over. And if you've ever seen somebody and you've recognized gluten, you know, it's the yeast, the candida takes over the brain. If there are aliens, they're the ones in this entity controlling situation. Other than that, I don't believe in the theory, personally. If, you know, people talk about disclosure and I'm over here going, what are you expecting? The so-called leaders to come out and say, yes, there are aliens. It's us. Yeah. I think there's an episode of Simpsons where he takes off the mask and yes, yeah. Those are the only aliens I can think of. They're the only ones testing on us. So if there are actual abductions, it's because it's them doing it to us. And I was in the military, so would I put it past them? Not at all. They're sick motherfuckers, just saying. Alienated a long time ago, right? Alienation. So just take that into consideration. We've been indoctrinated into these sick ritualistic, like the ritual stories of violence. Like God sent his son. And this is the other thing that blows my mind. I'm like, God didn't send his son. We are all children of God. Even Jesus was trying to say that, but yet the story they cling to is the separateness. The idea that Jesus was the only son. And I'm over here going, you didn't get the memo. You didn't get the full story. You're only seeing a piece of the story. You're not actually willing to see the full story. And unfortunately, what most people don't recognize, just like in nature where there's poison, the antidote is nearby. When you don't get the full story, you're stuck with the poison. And you actually bypass and you don't recognize that the antidote is there all that time. That the truth, the other half of that story, is always available to you, but you have to shift your focus. You have to be willing to confront your own BS, your belief systems, because you're really easy to control. Once you're under the bread and circus, wine submissive ritual. So think about that. So they got us addicted to the two most addictive substances, bread and alcohol. The two things that are most addictive to humans. And so when you've got someone who's got a heavy candida, they're inflamed. Like, I've been around enough people, their faces are puffy, their bodies are inflamed, they've got autoimmune disorders, diseases, because of course the body's always telling in the mind, so they're just stuffing. What does bread do? It's a great comfort food. You're stuffing your face and the emotions down, because a lot of people don't want to feel it. And then you're numbing out with the alcohol. So the Catholic Church was pretty damn clever in that one, setting you up for the normalization of this ritualistic violence of, you know, Jesus on the cross, and then let's drink his blood and eat his body. Like, I'm sorry, that's some fucked up shit. That I've had a problem for a very long time, and I've just been like, how do people not recognize this? Because they made people easily submissive through those substances. Talk about substance abuse. Inflammation is also another way to say anger. And it's again, inflammation causes pain, which is calling out there's a lie. Remember what I just said in the beginning. Your brain, it's either telling on the mind, your body's got pain, and the body is saying there's a lie in mind. It's not aligned. When the mind is out of alignment, the body is not in alignment. and vice versa. Like it's a carefully tuned instrument when you get it right. It's up to you to tap in and attune into what it's speaking to you. It is a language worth listening to and also learning. This is the key to your life. This is the blueprint. When people say, well, we didn't get a manual in this life, it's like, yeah, you did. It's called your body. Tap into your body wisdom. It's always going to tell you every single time. My first yoga workshop was about body wisdom, tuning into your body's wisdom. You got to feel it to heal it. And since then, it's been now over 10 years that I've been doing this, Kundalini yoga. I mean, I've been in the body department. What was that show? Body Mechanics. There was wasn't there, back in the 70s and the 80s. I just want to call it Body Mechanics. Anyway, I've been in the body awareness realm majority of my life. Like always trying to like, okay, I got to get to know this body a little bit better. Even in my denial of certain aspects of my body, I've also been like, but this body's pretty fucking amazing. Like I can feel things. I feel that, you know, like I know something's off. I listen to my body. I tap into it. I'm like, you know, ever notice the pitches? You pick up on different sound pitches and vibrations and you're like, ooh, something just shifted. That's intuition. And the more tuned in and tapped into your own body's wisdom, it also enhances your intuition. It's all connected. You can't dismiss it. And everywhere you go, there you are. So anyway, I mean, I can go on and I can go on and on about all the different ways to detox. That's not why we're here though. You can actually detoxify your body using your breath. I'm not a doctor. Don't take my word for it. You can actually try it out yourself. If you get right in the mind, the body will follow suit and vice versa. The body will actually, you know, this is why we use kinesiology. The body will actually align and go, yes, we agree that is true. I mean, the body can tell you if you're willing to listen. It's such a beautiful, beautiful instrument. We are blessed. Don't knock it, right? Qigong, right? You can do it all. You can do all the things. Try them all. Why not? Doesn't hurt. See what you feel. And so many different things I really wanted to talk about because I mean, the other day I had 15 pages. Today we only got 4, but I still hadn't even reached over that. And then I want to create a community and I want to bring you into a space where we don't have to worry about what we're talking about because I can go down a whole other route of information and the things. But ultimately, if you can recognize the law of physics and energy, there was, I don't know if anybody follows Matt from, what is Matt's channel? Quantum of Conscience. I've been following him for a little bit. And I enjoy sometimes listening to other people. I try not to watch too much because I know what I feel, but sometimes it's like the universe throws out more people, more things for me to go, oh, see, it's the theme. That when I'm tapped into the collective consciousness, it's not just me. When I hear these language, when I hear other people speaking about the same things that I'm journaling about, that I'm speaking about myself. Hi, Matt. How you doing? Yeah, right. Hey, hey, guys, it's Matt. I got you. Yeah, you do know who I'm talking about. He had put up a video the other day talking about what he called the law of, what do you say? Law of opposites. And I made a post on there, the rule of opposites. And it's simply the law of polarities. It's like, for one, it's that you want the whole story, right? If you want to know the truth, you got to get the full story. Hi, Mike. I appreciate you correcting me there. But in order to get the full story, you have to acknowledge that polarities exist to show you where there's imbalance. But those polarities, those polar opposites, show up in contrasts. So duality is just showing you the two halves of the whole. And then sometimes the halves even have. But let's just stay simple, right? So you've got, let's just use masculine and feminine. Masculine and feminine exist in every single one of us. And sometimes we're being a little bit more feminine or a little bit more masculine in our approach in our daily lives because it's necessary to take certain actions or to accomplish certain tasks or just to rest and digest, right? Right there, sympathetic nervous system versus the parasympathetic nervous system. And then you have the enteric nervous system, which is the indicator between the two. It's kind of like the, what's the word I'm looking for? So you got the sympathetic nervous system is the one that goes into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. It's the one that says, oh, I'm alert, what do we need to do? The parasympathetic is the rest and digest, like, okay, let's get this off my chest, let me just chill. And then you've got the enteric, which is like feeling everything out. It's your gut response. It's like you feel something. It's kind of like indicating one direction or the other. It's communicating between. It's kind of like a switch if you think about it. I love the enteric nervous system because, again, this is your gut. And it's part of the vagus nerve, the wandering nerve throughout the entire body. Like they've never, as far as I know, they haven't truly mapped it because it is all of those nerve sensors going throughout your body. Like you just don't know. Like, why do we think science is going to be able to tell us everything? Some things you just know. It's a gnosis versus I just figured it out because I learned from this one or that one. It's like there's an inner knowing, and we need to trust that more, especially now than ever before, that we've been outsourcing. If you listen to me, we outsource way too much. We trust in things outside of ourselves we shouldn't. Going back to religion, it's like people put blind faith in stories that man is telling. Again, I think the books were the first technology to dumb us down. Because ultimately we have the gift of telepathy. We have the gift of memory, of the Akashic records, of sharing through our lineages. The moment you put it down on a book, on a piece of paper, now you don't have to think about it. So you've outsourced it. And the same thing with the digital era. So now we've gone from books to technology. Are we able to retain our inner gnosis if we keep putting it outside of ourselves or looking for it outside of ourselves? If you don't use it, you lose it. So if we're not tapping in and tuning up our well-oiled, beautiful instrument, then we're going to end up stagnant and stuck and become robotic in this system that wants to take over and turn us into a bunch of, yes, exactly, there you go. We want a bunch of workers, not thinkers. Doers, not don'ts. And so it's up to us to recognize, and then this is the deconstruction of self. Again, I'm going to tell you this. If you think you need a blueprint or a book, just start learning about yourself, right? If you want to know the secrets of the universe, tap into your energy, your frequency, and your vibration. Because ultimately, every mystery, my story. Every mystery is my story. It's within me. It's not outside of me. It's up to you to take back your power, that you are the source. We all came from the same location and source. Which leads me to the part about how there's all these entities and all this craziness and so much fear and misdirection of our energy and our focus toward those powers that be. That saying I dislike so much because it's actually the forces. They're forcing, if you've read the book by David R. Hawkins, Power versus Force, The Determinants of Human Behavior. It's a fabulous book. It's a huge, if you need to start somewhere, start with that book. Because even in that book, he says, everything starts with self. Power is within you innately. And force is the appearance and the speeding up and the taking or the misguided focus that something has power over you. So outsourcing is saying that that person has control over me. When you get triggered by something, you get upset by something, hence the news, northeast, west, south. When you get taken out of your piece, you're fragmented into pieces, you're basically handing over your power to these entities and you're creating and manifesting for them because that's what they need. They can't do anything on their own original thought. They've got the same script and the same playbook. Haven't we learned anything from history? The only way to win this game, to beat them at this game, is to stop playing their game. So once again, it's the largest Ponzi scheme ever put in play, literally. And they've been using us as pawns against one another, pawning us off. Pawn. Think about the word pawn, not just in the game of chess, but pawns in the sense of trading, as in pawn shop, pawning us off. Like they don't care about us. They use us as trading commodity, right? When you start seeing through it all, you start to see the duplicity and the languaging. You go, whoa. Well, there was a word the other day, I was having a conversation with a friend, and I said, you know, they divided us into all these sects, right? SECTS. And they came back and said, that's because they're sex addicts. I mean, that's clever. And it's true. They're addicts to the caste system, the breaking us up into groups, the pitting us against one another through these ideas of colors and races and creeds and nations and borders. And, you know, the only way to control the masses is to create borders, to create countries, states, territories. Because if you think about it, back in the times of colonization, of ethnic cleansing, of the, what were they called? The, somebody talked about it the other day, the Knights Templar. Imagine that they're going around the world and they're conquering. And every time they conquer, they get a piece of land and a territory. So then someone's got to take care of and control it, right? To control the masses. The only reason we have borders is to control what's within those borders and what goes in and what goes out. Is it really necessary? Because technically, God gave you inalienable rights to move freely, to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If you think being loyal to your country, to your nation, to your state, to a territory is actually God-given, think again. You've been Jedi mind fucked, because that is essentially buying into man's laws and these little rules they've used to control us, like serfs, feudalism. Do you remember history? We're working the land for them, right? Right, pan in French or pane in Italiano, right? I know bread very well, especially having lived in Italy. And yes, my first marathon was Paris. When we start recognizing these games that they've been playing all this time, that they laugh at us, they mock us. They're operating on both sides. They're operating on the side you think you're taking and the one you think you're against, because that's only half the story. But disengaging is where they lose their power overall. And this is the part people haven't woken up to. They haven't clued into. That when you disengage, like people are going, but didn't you see? This is real. This is reality. Not today, Satan. Because that is, again, this is Satan's den. This is Satan's playground, so they say. But I also want you to remember something. When you see them playing out all the negative shit, here's the law of physics. And the part that people forget, because again, it's Hegelian dialects, right? Where there is chaos over here, everything's in order over here. Because the law of the universe is that when there's an imbalance, even nature will tell you, it will seek to find the balance. It will create the balance. So where there is an uprising in ourselves that we're not addressing, we're going to see it outside of ourselves. Everything you see outside yourself is essentially the unrecognized bubbling up discomfort that you have within yourself. If you are someone who feels the need, and I'm not saying this is good or bad, it's just an acknowledgement of it. I feel I need to be a justice warrior for this group or that group because something in your life that you felt was unjustly done to you. So we tend to do that. We gravitate in the world toward our traumas, and we don't even realize we do it. Again, the energy we emit is what we're attracting to us. We attract where we're at. So if you're seeing what you think is unjust, it's because of something in you just isn't. You haven't found the justice within, so you seek it without. That's called outsourcing, and that's why it's always best to go within. That everything you need is within you. And when you can make peace, that's your real justice. Justice simply just is. So all of the languaging they've used against us, they've only taught us what they want us to believe. They taught us the words they want us to cast in our spells, right? All of the choices that you're making, if you're unhealed and out of balance, is coming from the lower chakras. It's coming from the survival skills, right? Again, if you are living in a state of survival, constantly trying to make do, get by in a world that feels like, oh my gosh, I'm just struggling to make ends meet. That in itself is a spell cast. And you're easier to control and manipulate when you are in the chronic stress, the sympathetic nervous system. You are deteriorating, degenerating. Your energy is depleted when you're in chronic stress. And that is the root cause of dis-ease, is stress. And the inflammation and the pain is saying, this doesn't align. And you keep doing it again and again. And I know, because that was my wake-up call. That was my wake-up call years ago. Of all the years I was in toxic government environments, working in the military under people who wanted to keep me under their thumb, it's like, wow, no wonder I had so much back pain, because I wasn't aligned with it. My heart was screaming, saying, fuck, this is not heart aligned. And so when you wake up to how I, in my example, for the best example is personal experience. My wake up was that I am actually punishing myself, flogging my physical body through the emotional distress and discomfort. The misalignment that was in my mind was beating me up through the body. And I was allowing it. I was choosing it. I was going along with it. I was outsourcing and saying, okay, do with me what you please. And it was an abuse. Abuses, excuses, they're lame as can be, but you know what? We're choosing them. And when we recognize our choices are what cause our crises or our happiness, we recognize we are the creators and the masters of our universe. And so when I took that all back, it took me some years of all this rebirthing myself. This like, fuck, that's not right. That's not fair. No, it wasn't. But you know what? It was the best blessing, because energetically, and the way I saw it was, God said, okay, that's enough. Even I'm having a hard time watching you go through this misalignment. Like, even God will step in and say, this is enough, when you don't do it. And you'll think someone did it to you, because if you're still in the victimhood mindset, which I was at the time, you'll think that's not fair. They don't deserve to win. I deserve to win. I was the one who was wrong. See, this is the victimhood mindset, right? You have to be willing to surrender to the true God source energy that wants to come through you. How does love want to move through you? How does source, Shakti, universe, whatever you want to call it, this energy, this life force, it's your prana, that is the true source. That it is God. It's all God. Even the shit you don't want to face, even the stuff that is imbalanced in itself, it's all God. But it's, what is it that you are aligned, and you should be inspired from within. Inspiration, it's to inspire, to come in from within. It is coming through you. And if it's not coming through you, it's getting stagnant, it's getting stuck. You're not expressing your gifts. You are not in soul alignment. Your heart is not in alignment. And so we die these slow, painful deaths because we're lying to ourselves in our minds. Well, this is the story that I thought I was supposed to live out. Right? We've been indoctrinated that we're supposed to, have a job, and we're supposed to go to work, and I have to take care of myself, and all the stories we take on. But we rarely, until something really, critical mass, which is what I'm talking about. And it usually happens to the body. The body's the first thing to say, I can't do this anymore. And whether you agree or not, the body's going to take over, because at a certain point, it's going to shut down and it's going to call out the lies. Until you can find the ally in your mind will be the liar that will take you out, because the pain in your body is just screaming out at the liar of the mind. It is always telling on you. It's a tattletale. And your body is your biggest cheerleader. It wants to be aligned. It wants to see you shine, because that's what you're here to do. And when you're not in alignment with your heart and soul's calling, it's going to be there and it's going to tell you. And you can say it was something outside of yourself. You can play that victimhood game or story, but remember, that finger, it's a wand, just like the tongue. You got fingers pointing back at you, and you have to recognize your loaded gun is actually boomeranging back at you. You can blame, you can try to shame. That's not the name of the game. It is ultimately personal accountability and responsibility. That you are the master of your life, master of your domain. That if you were to have a direct connection to your source, to yourself, to truly own that, there isn't anything that can keep you back or down or out. This is really where humanity is at. Humans in unity. Do you know that the true human nature is receptivity? But it's been imbalanced to the point where so many people have been convinced we're supposed to give, we're supposed to give, we're supposed to give. We play the martyr, right? And ultimately, we are here to also receive. That this fluidity, this receptivity that is the human nature, is for you to allow yourself to also receive as much as you give. And what you give, you also will receive in some way, shape, or form. That's energy in motion. It's supposed to stay in motion. And we've been indoctrinated and programmed into this idea that we just give, and we don't actually fill our cups. And that we haven't been taught that it's okay to receive. I mean, are you more willing to give or more willing to receive, or to take or to get? It says a lot about where you are energetically. I'm still learning to receive. I'm not going to lie, because I know sometimes it's hard for me to say yes, please. But I also know, I know the beauty in it. I know the gift of it. And I know it's part of our human nature to take part in it, to literally allow people to do for us as we would do for them, the golden rule. If you do not allow that, then you stop that energy flow. You actually become a hindrance to your own life experiences. Right. How would you like me to serve today? God, make me an instrument of your peace. There's that word instrument again. What song will you sing today? What verse will you be in verse? Will you be in verse, or will you act in verse? Languaging, it matters. It matters a whole lot. Whew. And so anyway, I'm going to go back to what I was talking about, quantum of consciousness. Like when Matt, his last video that I watched, like I said, this is just a law party. He was speaking about, let's see where I wrote it, probably on the other side. As above, so below. As within, so without. As the universe, so the soul. You know I love language. You know I love words. So the seeds below. As within, so without. Again, we're always emitting energy. So we have to be recognizing the seeds that we're planting and we're actually nurturing from within will be sown outside of ourselves. They will show themselves. They've not only sown, but shown. And as the universe, so the soul. We are product of the you inverse. The universe is us, the source is us. Our soul is a part of that collective collaboration, the collective consciousness. And so it's this harmony, this interweaving. And we have to be just as well discerning and perceiving our part, our role, how we contribute and how we participate, because we're always engaging with it, whether we like it or not, whether we're conscious or unconscious. You may get a word that drops in. You could say, well, that's not really mine, but I'm picking up on something. But it really is. I mean, I can sit here and say, oh, that's not my thought. But it's part of me because it's part of the collective consciousness, and there is no separation. And let's go back again, talking about the law of polarity and energy, that in the universe and in nature, where there's an imbalance, where you see all the struggle and strife, there's ease and grace over here too. But if you keep beelining and focusing on and growing more of that negativity, and that's all you're able to perceive and receive, you're missing out on the good stuff over here too. You need to learn to also shift your focus and attention, because you're literally using the currency of your thoughts to pay for your experience. So the more you're focusing where you don't want to be, which is so ironic, it's like we literally, us humans are such silly creatures. We are flogging ourselves with you're driving by an accident scene in your car and you're staring like, I don't want to see any blood and gore, but you're looking for it. Like, we've been conditioned to look for the gloom and the doom. That's part of the indoctrination. And it's always oh, shit, I catch myself doing it. And then you shift your focus and put your attention in the opposite direction. Because where that exists, the polar opposite exists as well. But you have to remind yourself. And it takes practice. And practice makes progress. We're not trying to strive for perfection. No, we're aiming for progress. Because we are all works in progress. And perfection is just a word created to keep us on the monkey or the hamster wheel. And like the monkeys throwing shit at each other. Because if we don't get our shit straight, then we're going to live out in this shit show. We always get to choose. And we get to tell whatever story we want. And again, you are the creator of your life story. All the world's a stage. Keep that in mind. There's nothing wrong with the world being a stage. It's just recognizing how you're participating in it, what you're supporting, what you're choosing. Pay attention. But also be mindful of the attention energy you're focusing on. It's becoming the observer and witness of the attention that you're actually putting and cycling into motion. Like, this is a beautiful period. As we're going between, like, I feel like this, between the winter solstice and after the new year, that we're still in this period of like deep rest, depression, which is nothing bad. It's just acknowledging that there's a major change happening, because change is like death. We have to mourn. We have to celebrate. We have to honor the cycles of life. When we're reborn again, even though this isn't Easter, but at the same time, to recognize that all of nature is regenerating under the surface. Like, winter is that time of like, okay, everything's kind of still and there's chaos under the stillness. Like, you know, it's there. It's like, but don't be afraid of it. Because the mind will try to talk you into the story of it can't be good because all this stuff is unknown, so it has to be bad if I don't know what it is. But you half the time are coming up with the worst case scenario anyway. Again, like I said, you're driving by an accident scene looking for the gore, the doom and the gloom. Even in that case, you can go, okay, if I think it's negative, well, what could be positive? It's always bring yourself back to neutrality and recognize the imbalance that we are swinging on the pendulum of life, and that we are always going to go far over here and then the polar opposite when we get over here, and we don't even realize we're doing it unless we're conscious enough to step back and observe it. And that the pendulum is just showing you the contrasts and the ability for you to swing far, swing left, swing right, swing, and then come back to neutrality. Like, wow, that was a fun ride. Let's do it again. I mean, come on. That's really, this is This is the divine comedy of life. So we're getting to choose to play and participate in all of it. And I'll go back to the eyes of a child. The innocent eyes of a child are able to question it all because it's all new. It's not as familiar to them. But see, the big thing again is part of the game of this life is the entities try to keep us fixated only on their side of what they want us to manifest. And the moment you take your eyes off of it, they start to tremble with fear because they know it's up to us to manifest it for them. Whereas literally, you want to like get rid of some dead weight, literally. Corporate law is all about dead corpses, people. Come on. When you focus on your path, on your purpose, you get back into soul, heart and soul alignment. You recognize, oh, this is my verse. This is my tune. This is my frequency. Let me harmonize. Bring people into your peace. When you come back to peace within you, you will affect and influence others to find the peace within themselves too. Because it's an inside job. If you do it, you do it for others too. It's a collective collaboration. That is my favorite term. And that's going to be part of the name of our group. So, don't you want to be a part of the collective collaboration that inspires, that supports and uplifts one another? Because that's what we're here to do. We don't want to take anyone down or take anyone out. In fact, if you ever catch yourself wanting to fight against something, course correct. Shift your sails in the direction where the wind is blowing you. Don't go against them. That takes you out and that catches you off guard. And that's part of the trick of the game. That's the hidden hand trying to get you to keep on playing for it. Getting dirty every time. So, in the end, remember, wherever you go, there you are. Can't get away from yourself. And it is the common denominator in it all. Oh, I didn't take any of your comments away. That's bizarre. I don't know what your last comment was. Ooh, I don't know what that's about. I have noticed the numbers and the viewership down, and I don't know if that's Mercury shenanigans or you know what shenanigans, but I do know this. If this video resonates with you, if you feel called, you know somebody this might inspire and also uplift them, support them in a way that they need to be reminded of their power. Please make sure that you share. Please make sure you like and subscribe and hit the notifications bell because sharing is caring, first off. I'm a huge proponent about sharing. But number two, because it helps the algorithm, maybe this will get to the right people even more so. That, yeah, we have to ask for support. If we're unwilling to ask, how can you be expected to receive? But I'm so grateful that you found me, Magic Nova. Oh, I love it. See, the family is growing. We are attracting one another, and I have a huge belief in this, that you attract where you're at. And we are here to support one another. And the whole purpose of us coming together, we're going to find each other. Don't worry. You can't keep a good person down. Just saying. Trust in you. That's the key to everything you do. Tune into your frequency because we are all frequent keys here to unlock the codex. Kind of like Kodak moments. Because when we unlock each other's keys and codes, we are literally becoming more powerful because humans in unity equals humanity, that the frequent keys are meant to unlock each other to each other's potential. We can't do this alone. We were never meant to do this alone. No man is an island. Remember that. It takes a village, literally. And that if you remind yourself this is a collective collaboration, that there's a collective consciousness, and that we are all connected, each and every one of us, even the ones you don't want to believe that you're connected to. But the right ones always come together to do what they're meant to do. You can get caught up in the monkey game, the spiraling out of the what. All that is just like the Wizard of Oz, there to distract you and take you off your course. That's where we have to be vigilant, mindful, alert. Tune it in. Tune in. Breathe. Remember, go back to the beginning of the video where I showed you a great breath exercise. That right there will change your world. If you do that, try it for a week. Try it for a couple weeks. Try it for 21 days, 40 days, whatever floats your boat. See and let me know. Let me know in the comments. How did it even make you feel doing it today? Like, that might have shaken up some stuff you didn't even know was below the surface. Whew, and we are, you know, what is it, 75 to 80% water or something of that nature? So is it any coincidence maritime admiralty law is the law of the water, and they're trying to control our waters, our currency, us and our thoughts, our frequency? Because how does sound travel the best? Water. Dr. Emoto, emotions, emoting is vibrations. There's so much beauty in the languaging. So with that said, I think that's a lot. That's a lot to wrap your head around. And that was what was channeling for today, because we are all connections to source, and we do have messages that resonate and inspire. Pull that out of one another. Then maybe something I said here today sparked something in you, reminded you, because we're here to remember, come together, create the bigger unity within, amongst ourselves, that we spark each other. Again, the frequencies within me activate the frequent keys within you, and then it just keeps on rolling, 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 rolling down the river. I could just break into song all the time. So anyway, so much love from my heart to yours. Remember to breathe. Harmonize, frequency, energize. Those are the keys. And you have the keys within you. See, you don't have to seek the keys outside of yourself. You want the keys, the secrets to the universe. It's the mystery within you and your universe. Lots of love to you. Happy holidays, and I might see you, might not see you, maybe next year. Mwah, mwah, mwah.